Hi BookTube, it's Amy. So I'm here in Kingston, Ontario. I came out here on Wednesday because last night Old Dominion was playing the Leon Center here in Kingston. And this is my second hotel. I've got a pretty decent view here. I'm going to try to show you through the window here. I believe that is St. George's Cathedral. And you can't see the waterfront from here, but I did take a walk down along the waterfront yesterday in like -10, -15 temperatures, and you can see those pictures on my Instagram. But I had only intended to actually stay one night in Kingston, and it was going to be at this hotel. And they actually upgraded me to a junior suite, which is not what I made a reservation for. And when they told me that at the check-in desk, I thought, sweet, a junior suite, but I'm actually a little bit disappointed. I've got it set to 26 degrees in here, which is quite warm. I would never set a thermostat that high. But I've been cold every minute I've been in this room, except when I was in the bed. For some reason, it's just been incredibly cold. It's dark in here. I've got a light bulb that's burnt out, but that wasn't a big deal because it's just one of them beside the bed there. But yeah, it's kind of an old hotel room. The bathroom isn't that great. Definitely won't be staying here again, and I'm a little bit shocked because on the door here, the normal rate for a junior suite is $350 per night, and I paid less than half that. I paid $150 because I was only looking for a single room with a queen size bed, but they upgraded me based on availability, and so I've got two TVs in here. I've got the bedroom. I've got this very dark entryway, and there is this little room here with a second TV and a couch, which I'm assuming is a pull-out couch if you wanted to have several people sleep in this suite. But so this is the 4 Points, and last night I stayed at the Holiday Inn Express out by the bus station, and that was, well, it wasn't $350 a night, I can tell you that. The room I was in was about $150 a night. I think my total came to $160, and it was much cozier than this, and certainly warmer than this. And they had a Keurig. They just had a plain old little coffee maker in this room, and this coffee is actually quite terrible. So in the future, I'll be staying at Holiday Inns. This is actually, it's kind of funny, this is my 5th time ever staying in a hotel this weekend. Well, actually, it's not the weekend yet, is it? This Wednesday and Thursday night, this is my first time staying in a hotel on my own. The first time I would have been in a hotel was actually a motel. I was about 12. Well, I was 12. I was in middle school, and it was a school trip, so I was there with friends. The second time would have been when my family and I broke down, and we ended up in this little motel. About 24 hours later, we all got the flu, so that wasn't a great trip either. And then a couple years back, when my parents were helping me move out to Ottawa, we all stayed in a hotel while I looked at the university campus and at the house I wanted to rent a room in. And so those were my hotel experiences. And then all of a sudden, this, booked a hotel on my own. I feel quite accomplished about that. Of course, me being me, I have all sorts of interesting questions. Like, how does one check out of a hotel? So it seems that since I've already gotten my bill by email, I can just drop my key cards off at the desk, although according to Google, some people don't even do that. So it's not a sort of formal checkout. I think I will drop my key cards at the front desk, let them know I'm leaving, and leave it at that. But The point of this video was not for me to ramble about hotel experiences. The point was to show you Friday reads, what I'm reading. So I did stop off at a couple of bookstores here in Kingston. And the first, I wasn't really sure what it was. It turned out to be an independent bookstore that sells new books. And I picked up Parisian Lives, Samuel Beckett, Simone de Beauvoir, and Me, a memoir by Deirdre Bair, which is a book that I had seen a couple of times at bookshops, and I wanted to purchase it. I read about half of it yesterday. It came from a little shop called Novel Idea on 156 Princess Street here in Kingston. And I read 164 pages yesterday. I haven't even gotten to the point where she's talking about writing her biography of Simone de Beauvoir. So if you haven't heard of Deirdre Bair, she is a fairly well-known biographer. And she wrote 2 widely popular and detailed biographies, one on Samuel Beckett and one on Simone de Beauvoir. And this is her memoir of her experience writing those, which is quite interesting, especially when you learn about her background. So she had a background in journalism. She started writing the Beckett biography in the 1970s, and it was very difficult for women to get into academia at the time. She was interested in literature, and she had all sorts of faculty and professors and friends telling her that if you're going to write about an author, it needs to be a critical study. You need to include theory, but she was much more interested in the effect that an author's personal lives, that the influences in their lives, the people in their lives, the situations they'd experienced, had on their writing. And so when she set out to write this biography of Samuel Beckett, she was, 1, not published, 2, she didn't even have her PhD degree yet that she wanted to get, and 3, people were telling her, this isn't how you go about writing about an author. And then, surprise, surprise, she gets Samuel Beckett's cooperation, and people start to take her a little bit more seriously. But not too seriously, because she talks about how she had to frame things. She had a husband, she had children, and to write this biography, she had to go off to Paris. She had to go off to Ireland to spend weeks and months at a time doing interviews and research for this biography. And people shamed her, not always to her face, but she was very careful to keep this dialogue of, you know, I am a mother first and my work comes second. And even though her husband at one point told her, you know, it's okay, I can cook, she filled up the freezer with tons and tons of meals for her kids. And she recalls having the mother of one of her son's friends say, oh, you poor dear, you've been abandoned by your mother, come eat at my house. And her son was confused because, you know, they had lots of delicious food in the freezer that all they had to do was heat up. And so she describes it as trying to have it all before trying to have it all was a thing that that women really talked about. And of course, she'd read The Second Sex by Simone de Beauvoir, and so she had several missed connections with de Beauvoir, opportunities while she was writing the Beckett biography that she could have had to meet de Beauvoir, but she says from the first opportunity she had to go to a dinner with de Beauvoir to the time she actually met Simone de Beauvoir, it was a decade. So of course I'm very interested to read on and discover how it is she got to write the biography of de Beauvoir, because as she says, Beckett and de Beauvoir did not like each other, they did not get along, so it's very curious that she would write the biographies of both of them. So definitely a book I would highly recommend at this point, and I believe it was published in 2019 or maybe even this year. Let me just open up this page. 2019, so it's a fairly new, it's a fairly new release. That's a heavy book, and I just sort of bumped my face with it. But then I went to another shop yesterday, and you'll have to forgive me, I'm forgetting the name. It was a used bookshop, absolutely phenomenal. I also posted about it on my Instagram, and it was 2 floors, wall-to-wall books, and it wasn't crappy books, so to speak. It was things I was interested in. Everything was really top quality, definitely sort of those collectible, old, aesthetically pleasing books that I'm interested in. But for the most part, I skipped the literature section because I do want to read a little bit of nonfiction at the moment. But I did stop off in the literature section long enough to find the 6th Beatitude by Radclyffe Hall in this beautiful hardback edition here. They also had Adam's Breed, but given my limited luggage capacity, I did have to take the Greyhound down because the Via Rail trains are still not running. Given my luggage capacity, I didn't want to pick up anything that I didn't already own, and I have Adam's Breed in paperback. So I just went and I got the 6th Beatitude. Don't know anything about this one, but I am a fan of Radclyffe Hall. I love The Well of Loneliness. And it appears to be about a young woman who carries the weight of her family upon her shoulders during a year of hardship. And I'll leave it at that. We'll see whether I like this one or not. Then I picked up The Selected Letters, Volume 2, 1904 to 1909 of Marcel Proust. You'll know that I recently finished reading Proust's In Search of Lost Time, and so it'll be interesting to read a few of his letters. I'm still working my way through George Painter's biography of him, but I haven't picked that up in a couple of weeks. Then I have one more here, and I bought this on a whim. The cover caught my eye. Paris Interzone by James Campbell, Richard Wright, Lolita, Boris Vian, and others on the left bank, 1946 to 1960. Know nothing about this one other than the cover and that it's talking about something called the Paris Interzone. I don't know what that means. I suppose I'll find out. Paris Interzone begins with this moment. It ends with the death of Wright 14 years later. A death which many close to Wright regarded as suspicious. The intervening years yield a host of strange tales, links between writers and the CIA, the beguiling Boris Vian, French engineer, novelist, and jazz musician who passed as an American Negro, the rescuing from obscurity of Samuel Beckett by a small left-bank magazine edited by the Scottish writer Alexander Troshi, who led another life as Frances Langle, First Lady of Lust, and the story of Maurice Gerodius, Olympia Press, whose catalog placed written-to-order pornography next to modern classics, such as Lolita Watt and Naked Lunch. So it does sound like quite an interesting book, and I think you can tell by the language used in the opening that this is an older book, first published in 1994. Quite yellowed, should be an interesting read. I am, since this is my Friday Reads, I'm also I'm beginning to read Barchester Towers by Anthony Trollope. I'm only a chapter or so in, so I won't say anything about this now, but just to let you know that this book is indeed on my radar. So this is my Friday Reads. I'll probably post this either shortly before I leave the hotel or depending on how fast their internet speed is here. And I'm betting not very fast, just based on the general quality of this hotel. I'll upload it once I get back to my apartment in Ottawa. When I uploaded my final Q&A section on Wednesday night, Thursday morning at the Holiday Inn, it took 40 minutes for that to upload. And their internet wasn't bad at all. So I don't know what this is going to be like when I upload at home. Most things take less than 10 minutes, so we shall see. I hope you're all having a lovely Friday. And that coffee is really bad.